There's a moment you may not even notice anymore. It's that short pause when someone takes a little too long to reply to your message. Suddenly, your mind starts rewriting the whole story between you and them. It's when a simple plan changes, and your body immediately tenses up. It's when silence doesn't feel peaceful. It feels like something is wrong, even if everything is fine. That reaction, that tightening in your chest, that quick need to fix, explain, or prepare, isn't you being dramatic. It's you trying to feel safe. Somewhere along the way, trust started to feel unsafe, and control started to feel like protection. You didn't ask for this. You just learned how to brace yourself, how to overthink, how to hold on tightly when life stopped giving you clear answers. But here's the truth. It's not the situation that's heavy. It's your grip on it. Control promises safety, but what it really brings is exhaustion. You wake up already scanning your day for problems. You carry a quiet weight, always feeling like it's your job to keep things from falling apart. You don't feel present. You feel responsible for everything and everyone. Even the good moments don't feel light anymore. You cling to them, worried they'll slip away too. But what if the problem isn't what you're carrying? What if it's how tightly you're holding it? What if things don't fall apart when you let go? What if they finally start to fall into place? Control doesn't begin as control. It begins as protection. You didn't wake up one day and decide to manage everything. You learned it slowly, likely early in life. You figured out that life felt safer when you were the one paying attention, when you could read between the lines, when you could plan ahead, when you could stay quiet, hold back, adjust, and stay ready, just in case. Control became your safety net, a quiet way of staying one step ahead of pain, ahead of disappointment, confusion, conflict, rejection, and most people around you didn't even notice. They saw someone organized, someone reliable, someone strong, someone who always shows up, always takes care of things, always keeps it together, but inside, you're tense. Your chest stays tight. Your thoughts don't stop. They loop. Peace only shows up when everything feels handled. But everything never feels handled, does it? There's always something. A person you're unsure about, a situation that feels unpredictable, a silence that feels too loud, a tiny voice in your head that says, if you stop paying attention, it'll all fall apart. But what if that voice is lying? What if it's not all on you? What if the weight you've carried for years was never yours? Control tricks you into believing that your value lives in how well you manage everything, that if you stop, everything will break, that people will leave, that you'll lose your place. But maybe, just maybe, the opposite is true. Maybe your real place opens up the moment you stop trying to earn it, when you stop explaining everything just to be understood, when you stop overperforming just to feel accepted, when you stop planning every interaction like it's a negotiation for safety. That's when life finally starts to breathe again. Not because it became perfect, but because you finally stopped trying to control every possibility. And in that space, something amazing happens. You discover that peace doesn't come from control. It comes from letting go, not because everything is okay, but because you realize you don't have to hold it all. At first, you won't even notice the shift. It's quiet. It shows up when your shoulders drop, and you don't even tell them to. It's in how your mind doesn't spin after a conversation. It's in how you speak slower, listen better, and breathe deeper. Not because life got easy, but because you stopped bracing for impact. When you stop trying to control everything, you don't lose yourself. You actually find yourself, the real version of you that was buried under all that pressure, the part of you that doesn't live in reaction mode, the part that doesn't need to defend, correct, or predict all the time, the part that no longer sees silence as danger or someone else's mood as your fault. You stop reading between every line. You stop monitoring every room. You stop adjusting your boundaries based on who might feel uncomfortable. And here's the most powerful part. You don't need everything to go your way anymore, because unpredictability no longer feels like a threat. You've made peace with not knowing. You've learned to sit with the discomfort instead of trying to fix it. You've realized that peace isn't about having control. It's about feeling safe, even when you don't have all the answers. And that changes everything. Because here's the hard truth. Control doesn't protect you from pain. It just keeps you stuck in fear. It forces you to live in your head, always preparing, but never truly living. It makes you forget what it feels like to trust. not just others, but yourself. To trust that you can handle hard moments when they come instead of rehearsing for them every day. To trust that you don't need to fix every little feeling as soon as it shows up. To trust that silence isn't rejection. That change isn't failure. That space isn't abandonment. And once you trust that, you begin to see things you never had room to feel before. You notice how often people love you, even when you're not trying so hard. You see how life surprises you in good ways. Once you let go, you realize how light you feel. When you stop dragging the weight of expectations behind you like armor. Letting go isn't weakness. It's not quitting. It's not giving up on life. It's choosing yourself over the lie that control will keep you safe. But here's what no one tells you. Letting go doesn't feel peaceful right away. At first, it feels like loss. Not because you've lost anything real, but because you're losing the identity you built around always being on. Your brain doesn't know what to do with the silence. You might even try to create a problem just to feel something familiar. You'll overthink again, not because something is wrong, but because your nervous system is detoxing from constant pressure. Letting go doesn't feel light at first. Sometimes it feels like nothing, a strange stillness that almost feels unsafe. Because when you've spent years scanning for danger, calm can feel suspicious. That's when the real conflict begins. A part of you wants rest. Another part says, you can't stop now. A part of you wants to slow down. Another part whispers, are you sure it's safe? This is where most people give up. They think this discomfort means they're doing something wrong. But really, it's just the absence of noise. Noise you've been surviving in for years. If you stay with it just a little longer, something else rises. Not panic, not stress, but clarity. You begin to notice what was never yours to carry. That conversation you've been replaying. That emotional mess someone asked you to clean up. That version of you that never said no out loud. Gone. Not with force, but with space, with stillness, with a decision to stop fueling what drains you. Healing doesn't always look like progress. It's not always new routines, morning affirmations, or big breakthroughs. Sometimes healing is just not reacting the way you used to. Sometimes it's not texting back, not over-explaining, not rushing to fix someone else's feelings. Sometimes it's pausing, taking a deep breath before speaking, choosing silence over proving your point, choosing peace over needing to be right. That's healing too. And no one claps for it. No one notices it, but it changes everything. Because healing isn't always loud. Sometimes it's invisible, but deeply powerful. You don't always see healing in what you do. You often feel it in what you no longer need. You no longer need to be chosen to feel worthy. You no longer need to control the room to feel safe. You no longer need to fix someone to feel useful. You no longer need to chase after people who don't value you. You start to trust your own no without guilt. You stop making yourself small just to make others comfortable. You stop confusing silence with rejection and distance with disrespect. You stop thinking everything is your fault. And that shift, that's massive. But it won't feel massive at first. It'll feel subtle, like walking away from a conversation where you didn't shrink, like standing in front of the mirror and not picking yourself apart, like choosing not to answer a message that drains you without guilt. Healing happens in small, quiet choices, not once, not perfectly, but slowly, over time. And yes, it's confusing, because there's a part of you that wants to be fixed. You want to feel done. You want the pain to leave for good. You want to feel 100% healed, so you can stop thinking about it. But healing doesn't work like that. Healing is layered. It's circular. You'll revisit the same emotions more than once, not because you failed, but because each time you meet them with more wisdom, more compassion, more awareness. And one day, something wild happens. That thing that used to shake you, it barely moves you. Not because you're numb, but because you're rooted. You've grown. You've expanded. You've changed the way you hold pain. It's no longer wrapped in fear or panic or self-blame. It's just there. A soft ache you no longer run from. A memory that doesn't control your present. And that is what real healing feels like. Not perfect peace, but less panic. Not zero triggers, but fewer reactions. Not a new personality, but a softer, stronger version of the same heart. A heart that knows, I can survive this. I've done it before. A heart that doesn't need to prove its pain to be heard. A heart that doesn't chase people who aren't ready to meet it. A heart that doesn't carry what isn't hers anymore. Sometimes healing means grieving the version of you who didn't know better. The one who stayed too long, who overgave, who tried too hard. Not because she was weak, but because she was trying to feel loved, safe, seen. That version of you deserves compassion, not shame, because she helped you survive. But you don't have to stay her forever. You're allowed to evolve. You're allowed to want more now. You're allowed to say, I'm not who I was, and that's okay. Because growth isn't betrayal. It's alignment. It's choosing your peace over your pattern. It's saying, I deserve a life that doesn't hurt all the time. That doesn't mean you hate where you've been. It just means you're done staying stuck there. Sometimes people will call your growth selfish, but you're not selfish for choosing your peace. You're not cold for protecting your energy. You're not rude for saying no. You're not mean for not being available 24/7. You're not broken for needing space. You're healing. And healing comes with boundaries. Boundaries that say, I don't have to explain my worth. I don't have to earn rest. I don't have to absorb your moods. I don't have to make myself smaller for you to feel comfortable. I don't have to carry the emotional weight for both of us. And if that feels unfamiliar, good. You're unlearning. You're unlearning the belief that you owe everyone access to your energy. You're unlearning the pattern of fixing to feel loved. You're unlearning the habit of abandoning yourself to keep others close. You're unlearning the guilt that kept you stuck in cycles that drained you. That's what healing often looks like. Not more doing, but more undoing. Letting the false selves fall away. Letting the masks drop. Letting the truth rise. And here's a quiet truth. You don't need to become someone else to be healed. You just need to return to who you already are. Beneath the fear, the survival patterns, the perfectionism, the noise. You were never too much. You were just in environments that couldn't hold your truth. You were never hard to love. You were just surrounded by people who didn't know how to love themselves. So they couldn't love you fully either. And now, you get to do it differently. You get to create space for softness. You get to ask for what you need without shame. You get to protect your peace, even if it disappoints someone else. You get to honor your truth, even if it makes others uncomfortable. Because healing isn't about being liked. It's about being free. Free from pretending. Free from proving. Free from constantly apologizing for being human. And that kind of freedom, it doesn't come all at once. It comes with each small moment where you say, this isn't mine to carry anymore. And then you put it down. You're not behind. Even if your timeline looks different. Even if you're still healing things you thought you'd be done with by now. Even if people around you are moving faster, farther, louder, you're not behind. You're becoming. And becoming isn't always loud. It's not always visible. It's not always obvious. Sometimes becoming looks like stillness, like choosing rest over running, like letting go instead of holding on, like giving yourself permission to stop proving and just be. And yes, that might look like nothing from the outside, but on the inside, it's everything. Because when you stop rushing, when you stop trying to catch up, when you stop forcing yourself into timelines that were never meant for you, you start to hear yourself again. And your own voice, that's the one that matters most. Not the voice of comparison, not the voice of pressure, not the voice of fear, but the voice of truth. The one that says you are already enough, even as you grow. Because this moment is not a pit stop on the way to a better you. This is you. This is your life. Not a draft, not a warm-up, not a rehearsal. This is real. So live it now. Not when you're more confident. Not when you're less afraid. Not when your skin clears or your career takes off or your relationship is perfect. Live it now. Feel joy now. Feel proud now. Celebrate now. You don't have to wait for everything to be perfect to enjoy something good. You don't have to be completely healed to be worthy of peace, love, or rest. You don't need to earn joy by suffering enough first. You're allowed to feel good now. And yes, you can feel joy and grief at the same time. You can feel peace and pain, hope and heaviness. You are not broken for holding both. You are human, and your ability to feel it all, that's not a weakness. It's a gift. It means you care. It means your heart is still open, even after all you've been through. It means you still believe in beauty, even on hard days. And that belief, that's everything. Because there's more ahead, more beauty, more peace, more laughter, more real connection, more soft mornings and loud music, and honest conversations and quiet love that doesn't make you question your worth. But you'll miss it if you keep waiting for the right version of you to show up first. You're the right version, not because you're finished, but because you're honest. You're trying, you're growing, you're healing in ways no one else can see. And that counts. Even if you stumble, even if you forget sometimes how far you've come, even if some days you feel like you're back at the beginning, you're not. Every time you choose kindness over self-criticism, every time you rest instead of forcing, every time you speak your truth, even with a shaky voice, you are building a new world for yourself. One where you are safe, one where you're allowed to be a human being, not a machine, not a performer, not a fixer, not a constant caretaker, just a human. Software messy, real. And that version of you, she's allowed to take up space. She's allowed to rest without guilt. She's allowed to be celebrated even if she's not there yet. Because there is a moving target. And enough is not a destination. It's a choice. You decide when you are enough. You choose it. You claim it. And the wildest thing, when you do, when you finally say, I don't need to become someone else to be lovable, I already am. Everything softens, the panic loosens, the shame quiets, the pressure fades, and what's left? You, still growing, still learning, still messy and magical and trying your best, but lighter, more grounded, more free, because you've stopped running from yourself. You've stopped waiting for permission. You've stopped needing proof. You've started to trust your own rhythm. And that rhythm, it will take you exactly where you're meant to go. Not rushed, not forced, but gently, softly, powerfully. So if you're in a season of change, if you're in between stories, if you're shedding old layers and trying to find your footing, know this, it's working. Even if you can't see it yet, even if it feels confusing, messy, uncertain, you are becoming. And becoming doesn't always feel like becoming. Sometimes it feels like breaking, like ending, like everything is falling apart. But often, that's where the new story begins, right in the middle of the mess, not with clarity, but with courage, not with a roadmap, but with a single small step forward. And that's all you ever need. Just one brave step, again and again and again, until one day you look up and realize you didn't just survive, you arrived, you're home, in yourself, at last.